I think the difference that most artists have, the ones that I come across, they think, we tend to think our opinions are a lot more important than other people's in some way. That often we feel as though we have the key to something. I don't think that we do at all. I just think we dwell on it more. We tend to look at the world as some usable substance more than a non-artist would. I think for many people, just getting through life is enough. That's a big enough task, let alone having to look at the world and the universe and say, now, if I have my way, the way that I work, I will either be extraordinarily accepted, or otherwise I reach a point where I've got 7 people listening to what I do. I mean, there's never in between, at least. And it's been like that all my life, you know. People have either really accepted what I do, or they absolutely sort of push it away from them. And I guess I've gotten used to that, and that's kind of, I guess that's what I am, you know. Sometimes I'm useful currency, and other times I'm not. Well, I suppose since I stopped doing drugs and drinking, I think probably I really prize getting up early in the morning, which is something that happens. I now find, for years now, I've gotten up regularly at 6 in the morning. It doesn't matter what time I go to bed, I still get up, which is not a great thing actually when I'm rehearsing, because you rehearse pretty late. But I still get up at 6. I enjoy the fact of seeing the light come up with me, and then utilizing the daylight and what it brings, and the kind of message that it brings. It's a different message from when you're living in twilight hours, and things get very symbolic representationally. If you live through the twilight hours and the early hours of the morning, there's a shadow to your life all the time. Psychologically, you're in the dark as well as physically in the dark. And it's something that I find very uplifting and optimistic and creative about working and being very much in the daylight. If I found myself in some kind of cul-de-sac in the music, I'd break down the problem by actually painting it. I'd try and visualize what the problem was, that the sense of these textures were grating against each other in a way that wasn't admirable. And I'd try and visualize those textures and paint them, and then find out what was wrong. And then when I'd solve that problem, I'd take it back into the studio. I've never really compartmentalized things. Everything for me is just this flux of doing stuff. Some of it's music and some of it's visual. And the two have always been very entwined. It's going to affect me, whether I like it or not. I'm going to be pained by the people that don't like it, and I'm going to be bolstered by people who do like it. What it won't do is change the way that I work, which is probably the most important thing. But whatever I hear, and people will insist on sending me any criticism, I'll get over it fairly quickly. The trouble is overcomplicating an idea, which I do frequently. You know? It's the sin of the artist. When you have an idea and then you fuck it up. And Francis Bacon used to do it all the time, so I'm in good company. Where you think you've got to a point where it's really good, and then you do that next thing, and it's the worst possible thing you could have done, and you've just gone overboard, and you think, sod, I've ruined it. Never play to the gallery, I think. But you never learn that until much later on, I think. But never work for other people at what you do. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.